Recording live in the Lucky Number 7 Lounge, this is Dine, Drink Vegas, the podcast by and for everybody stuck at home, wishing they were in the land of neon lights and bad decisions. I'm your host, John, and you have dropped in for another round of tasty booze and Vegas news. But before we can launch into any of the stories we've brought you or tell you about our tasty drink of the day, we have to welcome in the founder of Dine, Drink Vegas and Dine, Drink Travel. Yes, of course, I can only be speaking of the High Roller, formerly of the High Plains, the leader in the luxury lounge, the king of comps, the Alabama Slammer, the man who's always waiting for that limo to take him to his next luxury Las Vegas destination. I am speaking about Bill. Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, John. I am flying into your town late tomorrow night to spend Valentine's Day with my wife, who is considerably prettier than you are. And here in Alabama, I miss Mexican food, and I miss it so much. Do you have any Mexican food restaurants that are still open in your town, John?
We have a few. If you throw a rock, it will land in a cup of salsa. That's a thing we can do here.
That is good, because it's not a thing we can do here, and I miss it very much.
No, we can do Tex-Mex or authentic Mexican, which are not, dear listeners, the same thing, but both are perfectly delicious. And we got you covered on both ends.
Outstanding. I look forward to it. Well, John, what is it that we're drinking? Because I am way too sober to be podcasting right now.
So today's recipe comes from a bar called 302 Main, and this is their take on a Planter's Punch. I found this recipe on punch.com. And it's not a traditional Planter's Punch, but I picked this recipe because of an ingredient that I was getting Bill used to. So they do this with a different rum. We made an adjustment to it. So we're calling this the Rum Fire Planter's Punch. Normally, Planter's Punch is made with a dark rum, something with a lot of caramel and fruity notes, gives it that different color. That's not what we're doing here. This is actually closer to a daiquiri by the time you drink it. So here's the specs. 1.5 ounces of Rum Fire. This is a 151 proof. Is it 151? 63%. I can't do math. 126 proof on my bottle. Jamaican rum. And we're doing that with 1 ounce of lime juice, 1 ounce of simple syrup. Make that a 1-to-1 simple syrup. If you have a 1-to-2, then cut it back to 1/2 ounce. 1 ounce of water. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. You're going to shake all of that in your cocktail shaker with crushed ice. And then you're going to serve it with that ice in a tall Collins glass if you have one, or an old-fashioned glass if you're me. And you can garnish this with a mint sprig, or if your mint tasted funky, you can do a lime wedge, which is what I opted for. So, Bill, I made this because I don't think you've ever had Rum Fire before. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I've got to confess, John, I didn't have it this time. Was there any Rum Fire in that alcohol you left me when you were here a few weeks ago?
Yeah, there was a sample of it.
Okay, cool. So I'll talk about how I compensated for that in just a second.
Okay.
I done screwed up, which is my fault. I just assumed when I read the recipe about white overproof rum, I just assumed the only part that matters was the overproof. So I compensated by putting less water in here, right? Like I took a regular white rum and I just didn't put as much water in to increase the proof of the drink.
Oh, so no, the whole point of this was for you to get that really, really funky rum. Now I almost want you, when I'm reading a story here in a minute, to go grab that, because I need to see your reaction to Rum Fire.
Well, do you want me to go grab it right now?
Well, I tell you what, let's do that, and then we'll circle back. We'll put a pause on the drink of the day. I'm going to launch into our first news story while Bill goes to grab Rum Fire. Listeners, while Bill is away, I will tell you, if you're only experienced with rum or your big brands, your Bacardi, your Captain, Rum Fire is a lot to take. It is funky. There's these Laffy Taffy banana flavors, and I think it's going to blow Bill's socks off. Oh, Bill's back. We didn't even get to a news story. So do you have your little vial of Rum Fire?
I do. And John, can I trust that whatever just got said on that part of the podcast was reasonably decent, or do I need to go back and review it before I post this thing?
No, I was just explaining to the listeners what you're about to taste, but I don't want to explain it to you. So why don't you go ahead and open that little sample bottle and get a nose and a sip of Rumfire?
I just opened up the bottle, right? And I don't even have the lid all the way off, and I can already smell it. That's some strong stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is a super funky thing. So, listeners, what I did, and this is my fault. I was trying to honor the recipe, but I just used a regular white rum, Don Q Cristal, and then I didn't put as much water in as the recipe called for. And that is not the same thing. Effectively, what I have is a Hemingway daiquiri that for some reason the bartender got drunk and put in some Angostura bitters, right? Like that's the drink that I made.
Yeah.
This is a very different thing, and there is absolutely a big funk there. But I am a man of science, John. So I'm going to pour a little bit of that in my drink. I'm going to say that's a half ounce. Let's go with that. Right?
Let's go with that. I just want to see what flavor notes you pick up off of this rum, because there's one in particular I hope you get.
So I'm smelling banana is what I'm smelling.
There it is.
All right. No, I mean, it's overwhelming. There is
like that
it's
Laffy Taffy banana.
Yeah, it's not subtle. There is a lot of banana in there.
I picked this sample because I know sometimes you'll order like a banana daiquiri.
So, and I do, because I am confident and secure in my masculinity, I will order the banana daiquiri. I will say, I like this drink better before I put the Rumfire in it. Now, I didn't like this drink. It was too sweet, but this rum needed to go in a different cocktail, right? Like, had I put it in a banana daiquiri, or for that matter, even something like a strawberry daiquiri, it would have been fine. But when I put in that ounce of simple syrup, along with everything else, it changed the drink pretty profoundly.
Yeah, and I'll grant that this one, I don't know that I would make this particular drink again. I think I would just make my normal daiquiri recipe with Rumfire, but Rumfire can be an acquired taste. And I wanted to expose you because the face you're making, and sometimes I wish we were a video podcast, that was my reaction the first time I had Rumfire too. The crazy thing about Rumfire and other really funky Jamaican rums like Ray and Nephew is at first those really strong estery flavors that comes from the fermentation process. They're very similar in a way to certain Belgian beers, in your face over the top flavors. A lot of people will put these in tiki drinks in small degrees. And this is why in tiki recipes, you often see 2 or 3 rums, and one of them will be like a half-ounce pour of a Jamaican rum. It's because you're trying to capture a little bit of this flavor along with some other rum flavors. But honestly, oh my goodness, the face Bill is making, it's like he just drank nail polish. That's so awesome.
Y'all, I would rather lick the inside of John's sock than have any more of this drink. I am about to go commit alcohol abuse and pour this shit down the drain because it's that bad. Like, it's, oh my goodness, that stuff tastes as terrible as your soul. It is no good at all.
I really thought you would like this because you like those banana flavors. Like, I thought I had something that Bill would just latch onto.
So I think what the problem is the intense funkiness of this rum combined with the super sweetness of the drink, right? Like an ounce of simple syrup is too much for this drink.
Yeah.
So it was a super sweet drink, then with the banana and the funk. So it was kind of like I had spoiled melted ice cream. Right, spoiled melted banana ice cream, and it just wasn't very good. So,
let's play a game.
I'm terrified, John.
I have my bottle of Rumfire in front of me. You have your sample bottle in front of you. Since our thesis here is that it's all the sweet that's getting in the way.
You go first.
How about a sip for science? All right. Oh, that'll put hair on your chest.
Oh, I don't know what I did to you.
And possibly take the wax off your car.
It tastes terrible. It smells terrible. I can't just. Oh, okay, I'm going to sip this. Okay, so once I not only had a very small sip, but just the sip itself, it wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible. It's that smell. And I love bananas, but it turns out it is the smell and not the actual taste. Now, the actual taste combined with the actual sweetness is a problem. But if I were to just sip this neat when I had a cold and couldn't smell it, that would be okay. It would also be a sign that I had lost my job on the day that Rachel divorced me, on the day that whatever, right? Like everything was going wrong, and this is what I decided to drink to out process that.
Wait, I've got another rum for that. I do. I do think we need to revisit this. In the summertime, we do a lot of tropical tiki drinks. I think I'll have you revisit this rum. So try to hold on to that sample. I think we'll revisit this one a little bit later in the summer where it is part of a blend of rums and it's not as assertive, and see if we can't rehabilitate this rum for you. Bill, why don't you go get yourself a drink you actually want to drink, and I'll start reading some news. I have run Bill off of his own podcast. Victory is mine. Last week, Scott of Vital Vegas announced that Five Guys Burgers and Fries is coming to the Plaza. Initially, we didn't know where it would be on the property. Since then, Scott has learned that it will go into the pop-up pizza location on the south end of the casino floor by the Hogs and Heifers pop-up spot, formerly known as the Sand Dollar. Fear not, pizza fans, pop-up will simply relocate, presumably to the food court. Now, one of the things I don't know yet is whether they're going to have the alcoholic milkshakes and those type of adult beverages that are being rolled out on the strip location of Five Guys. I did hear a podcast where the manager, the regional owner, the guy that owns the Five Guys in Vegas, did say they're being very slow to add alcohol because they want to get it right, but they're starting with boozy adult versions of the Five Guys milkshakes. Rolling on, because I think I may have broken Bill, Scott also shared Red Rocks is reviving Hearthstone Pizza, even though they closed the original Hearthstone several years ago. Downtown favorite pizza purveyor Good Pie is already coming to their food court, raising the question, why in the world does Red Rock need these two pizza places? That said, the revived version of Hearthstone that's coming to Red Rocks is more of an upscale sit-down Italian joint, and the pizza is more wood-fired Neapolitan style. So I don't think that Hearthstone and Good Pie are going to be cannibalizing one another's business. This is very, very different. Bill is back. Hey, Bill, we were just discussing pizza at Red Rock. Did you find yourself something worth drinking?
So I basically recreated the drink that I had first made. And I am so sorry, John, for screwing up the recipe. I read it. I didn't realize that was an ingredient I had. But remaking it with just regular rum, less water and less syrup is quite good. The other thing I did, and I hope I've redeemed myself in your eyes a little bit for this, is so the recipe calls for 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, and I put in like 7, right?
Boy.
That drink with that amount of Angostura bitters is good and hopefully gets the rum fire out of my mouth.
Yeah, like I said, we'll come back to rum fire later on in the podcast, not this episode, but down the road. But I will engineer a drink where it is just part of it. Think of it this way. I assume you like blue cheese dressing on your buffalo wings.
Sometimes, sure.
But you may not enjoy a whole mouthful of blue cheese straight off the rind. And I think the same thing with rum fire. I like it straight, but it was an acquired taste because the first time I had it, I reacted exactly like you. I have developed an appreciation for this rum. Not so my first at bat. I really did, and I apologize, Bill. I wasn't trying to mess with you. I thought that banana Laffy Taffy flavor I thought you'd love it. I really did.
You know, sometimes you swing and you miss, and today I struck out, John.
Yeah, the faces you were making were phenomenal. Well, Bill, are you ready to jump into story number 3?
Absolutely. Las Vegas locally reported that iconic 17-foot Siegfried and Roy bronze statue from the Mirage will be formally unveiled at its new home, the Neon Museum, on April 24th. And John, I know that I'm particularly excited that some of the stuff from the Mirage is living on around Vegas because I loved that property as it was so much.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I'm not one of these people who's just heartbroken. Look, everything changes. Nothing lasts forever. And that is true in Vegas more than anywhere else. So I miss the Mirage. I want pieces of it to stick around. I kind of hope MGM builds a volcano somewhere else on the strip because we need one. MGM did keep the name of the Mirage. They own that name still. So we could get a Mirage 2.0 somewhere down the road. But I am excited about the Hard Rock, and I enjoy watching Las Vegas locally and others share photos of the construction there. Bill, as much as you miss the Mirage, are you willing to give the Hard Rock a shot?
100%. For one thing, as you point out, stuff changes. For the other thing, I mean, she gone, right? I can't go back to the hotel I used to enjoy, and I'm not going to be angry at the Seminoles for having done what they make judge is a better business decision. So I will absolutely check it out. Also, John, and this isn't something we can share on the air, but I've got a story about the Hard Rock in Las Vegas that you and I need to talk about in post-production.
Got it. We can absolutely do that. Well, let's jump back into the run sheet. Vegas Publicity reported that the Black Keys, everybody's favorite modern Southern rock and blues band, are bringing their Peaches and Cream tour to the Virgin on June 12th. I haven't even listened to the Peaches and Cream album yet. That is now on my to-do list. Bill, are you a fan of the Black Keys? And is this a concert that has your attention if you could get out there?
I have been aware that the Black Keys are a musical group which exists since at least you read that story 5 or 10 seconds ago. So I'm sure that amongst the repertoire, they play some songs and probably use some instruments. So sure, give me a couple of beers and I would be delighted to go along. John, who are the Black Keys?
So the Black Keys have been around for a while now, and I think this is their 14th studio album. So they've been doing this for quite a while. They are simply outstanding. Now, you have heard their music somewhere in a TV commercial, a TV show, or a movie. I guarantee if you went on to, I don't know where you stream music from, Amazon Music, Apple Music, I don't know what you jam with, Spotify, if you just brought up the Black Keys' biggest hits and started streaming, you would recognize some songs. They've been around for a minute. It is gritty, funky Southern rock and blues. It's right up my alley. I know you tend to listen to more country than you do rock and blues, but I think you would appreciate what they're putting down, even if they wouldn't become one of your favorite bands. I think they're geniuses.
And John, much as I would be willing to go to that show with you, I hope that you will one day join me at some baseball games in Las Vegas. For example, according to the University of Oregon and multiple other sites, the Live Like Lou Las Vegas Baseball Classic will take place from February 27th to March 1st, featuring Oregon, Arizona, UC Irvine, and Vanderbilt. All 4 of those teams won more than 40 baseball games last year and won either regular season or conference tournament titles. I think the real news here too, John, is that whatever sport it is you're into, Las Vegas is increasingly becoming a site for some high-level competition. Look up the game that you're into. There may very well be an event you want to watch whenever it is you're into going to Vegas.
Yeah, everything from competitive robotic fights to boxing to MMA, pro sports, college sports. Vegas really does have it all. Now, Bill, I don't watch a lot of baseball on TV, and I'm not as big a baseball fan as you are, but I really do enjoy going to a ball game, getting a couple of beers, and just spending an afternoon or hopefully in Vegas an evening because it does get hot. I would absolutely go to this. I do think the grouping of teams is kind of weird because you have all these Western teams and Vanderbilt.
So Vanderbilt is very, very good at baseball. I think they were just like, hey, which teams are there that were good last year that we can get out here? I wouldn't be surprised if they put out a big feeler, and mostly it was regional teams that were interested, but then Vanderbilt was also like, yeah, sure, why not? We'll give it a shot.
Well, help me out, baseball nerd. Is the Lou here? Which Lou are they living like?
I don't know.
I thought Captain Lou Albano, but that's wrestling.
I am proud that I pronounced the Live Like Lou Las Vegas Baseball Classic correctly every time I said it. I don't know who they're referring to, John.
Okay. There's some Lou out there, and we want to live like him. Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, let's go with it.
Okay. Well, speaking of giant hulking people, according to NFL.com and multiple sources, Clint Kubiak, who is not a hulking human being, but does coach those who are, is indeed, as we discussed in the last episode, heading to the Raiders as head coach. He was the offensive coordinator for the now Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. Bill, we talked about this last week. I don't feel the need to beat this to death, but I know you're not a big NFL fan. Any interest in seeing what happens with the Raiders over this season? Maybe get a little into the pros?
So I am intrigued. I want to see who they draft. Fernando Mendoza hasn't done anything to piss me off yet, the way that essentially all college athletes do. So, if they draft him, you've got somebody who took, what was the name of that Chuck quarterback that the Seahawks had? We talked about him last week.
Oh, they got rid of Geno. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But if Kubiak can make that guy good, I'm interested to watch. Before I decide whether the Raiders are going to be worth watching, I want to know what their offensive line is going to be. Because if you spend all your money on a fancy coach and a quarterback, but your left tackle is the size of an 8-year-old, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and they've got a problem on the other end there. Their defensive star player, Max Crosby, has basically said he will not play another down, and Las Vegas better find a trade partner. And I tell you what, maybe they can get the farm for him, but man, trust me, as a Cowboys fan, you hate watching your best defensive players up and leave town and go to places like Green Bay or even Seattle where they can win a Super Bowl. Congratulations to DeMarcus Lawrence. But the Raiders have their work cut out for them. Maybe they can build something.
Well, maybe they can. So, John, one of the segments, my favorite segments on this show is the Vegas WTF section. That just wild and weird Las Vegas news. We haven't done a Vegas WTF in several episodes, and tonight we've got 2. And if you don't mind, I will run with our first story.
By all means.
According to the Las Vegas Sun, and the basic story is borne out in several other sources as well, but as according to the Las Vegas Sun, former Border Patrol Commander Greg Bavina was seen, quote, chugging wine with a group of young men, end quote, at the bar Bottle Blonde on the Las Vegas Strip. He was asked to leave and escorted off property by security. So, John, here's my real question. Should we all go chug wine on the next guys trip?
Listen, I'm man enough to drink some wine. I just hate the wine hangover. So I don't think I'm going to chug wine. Also, I had a really bad experience at a bar in Mexico where I thought that I was chugging wine, and you and I both had this experience, if memory serves. I thought we were chugging wine being poured by a very beautiful young Mexican waitress, and it was instead a very hairy little Mexican bartender. And that's kind of put me off of chugging wine.
So I absolutely enjoy drinking wine. Wine is not a drink one chugs, and it is certainly not the traditional beverage of the guys trip. I am out. You know what? That is not the drink I am going to be having the next time I'm in Vegas. If I'm at a nice French restaurant, will I sip a glass of wine? Absolutely. Will I chug it with a group of dudes when I am en route from my old job to my new job? I will not. That is not a thing I will do.
Okay, but I will say this, and regardless of what anybody thinks of Mr. Bavino, I support the right, nay, The privilege as an American of anybody out there, if you suddenly find yourself getting publicly demoted from a job in front of national television audiences, and you want to deal with your shame by chugging wine with the boys in Vegas, and that's what makes you feel better. Well, Bill, that's why Las Vegas exists.
Yes, it is. But there are some things which could make Las Vegas not exist, John. Do you have any stories like that?
Yeah, so there's another one, our WTF twofer. A couple of weeks ago, an apartment building was raided, and there was an apparent biolab inside this apartment. Stories have varied wildly, so I'm not going to speculate on what all was in the apartment because I've seen conflicting reports. But let's just say it's not the kind of stuff you want your neighbors playing with. And I live in Texas where meth labs are a thing. I think I'd rather have the meth lab next door than what was cooking in this joint. The latest news from Fox News out of Las Vegas is the prime suspect, Ori Solomon, has been released by a judge, but there are conditions to his release, and it is pending further hearings. So he's not off the hook. They're just not holding him in custody. Bill, I know when we go to Vegas, there's a lot of things to worry about. Have you been worried about biolabs in the Las Vegas Valley?
I have not. I've been more worried about the sheer size of the crowds because if I was intent on causing damage to the United States, I would go to a place where there was a large concentration of people who weren't, necessarily paying attention and would be doing stuff which caused them to be slow to respond. So this hadn't honestly been on my threat matrix for Las Vegas. No.
But have you ever experienced a biohazard when traveling to Vegas with a friend?
Much like you, I have teenage children. Actually, that's not true. I only have one teenage child now because one just promoted. Yes, I am familiar with biohazards.
Yeah, we won't pull that thread because we both have dirt on each other in Vegas, so we won't go there. Bill, on that note, before either of us gets the other one into really big trouble, I think we need to bring this episode in. Why don't you tell the good listeners where else they could find Dine Drink Vegas and Dine Drink Travel content?
Folks, you can find us on YouTube at Dine Drink Vegas, where I bring you short and focused videos which help you plan your next trip, something like 5 or 10 minutes on a particular restaurant or a particular hotel room. You can also find us on YouTube at Dine Drink Travel, where I'm about to start putting a lot more content, including things like the executive lounges in the Las Vegas airport and my trip to Ireland next month, where I'm given to understand they might sell me some alcohol if I ask very, very nicely. You can also find me on essentially every social media platform at Dine Drink Travel. And John, where can they find you?
You can find me at Dine Drink John, where I'm happy to talk to you about Vegas, about alcohol, about coffee, about sports. This week I have a special assignment. I want you to recommend more liquors that I can torture Bill with in future drinks of the day.
Don't do it, listeners.
We're so glad you took the time to listen to us. If you have a friend who's planning a trip to Vegas or an enemy that hates listening to old, fat, white Southern guys talk and drink, please share our podcast with them. In fact, whatever social media platforms you happen to visit regularly, take the link to this episode, send it out into the world, see if you can help us grow this audience so we can keep bringing you this amazing top shelf, premium, yet free Las Vegas travel content. And until the next episode, thanks again and happy travels.